Mongolia is extraordinarily rich in mineral resources and owns one of the largest gold and copper mines in the world. But much of its resources are unexplored, and it's very expensive to explore such resources in very large expenses. But with aerial technology, modern aerial technology, it has become much less costly. Reto Bodmer of Bodmer Capital Group has joined us to explain how they're doing it. Reto, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So there are many large resources in Mongolia: phosphates, iron, coal, rare earths, copper. I mean, the list is just endless. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
Well, as you know, Mongolia has vast resources. They have, of the 118 elements on the periodic table, they have 86 in commercial viable quantities. That means 86 of these elements make sense to mine. The problem with Mongolia is obviously it's a huge country. It's the size of Western Europe with the population of Berlin. So it's 2.8 million people living there. Very well educated country. I think 97% of people can read and write, which is extremely high. Predominant religion is Buddhism. So it's actually a good country also to do business in. The problem is the size. So you have resources all over the place, and you need to find a way how to explore those in a very efficient way. Now, traditional geologists will go out and drill some holes and find stuff, and this is, in those land masses, literally impossible. So we actually work with technology which allows us to bypass these issues. And we can fly with our planes over land masses and actually see 1,000 meters down and 500 meters to the side. And the technology can separate oil, gas, water, copper, iron ore, all sorts of different minerals.
But just step back a second. Mongolia, why Mongolia? I mean, why would you want to explore in Mongolia? Is it because it's a landlocked country? So what are the advantages of working there?
Absolutely. First of all, if you look at who's the biggest market in the world right now, buying minerals or anything at this point, and the fastest growing economy in the world, it's China. China needs everything, and they need phosphates, which we already have one of a claim in the mine, one of the largest ones probably in the world right now. And so they will need that. So with the new treaties with China, you will have the ability to directly export to China without any customs issue, etc. And same with Russia as well. So you have like a really great strategic position with Mongolia. While a lot of people in the West think it's in the middle of nowhere, it really is in the middle of everything because it's next to China.
And it has been vastly reviewed also by the Russians during the Cold War.
Absolutely. The Russians, during the height of the Cold War, needed to find a way to actually get them materials for their arms industry. And Mongolia was next door with huge resources, so they sent their geologists for years down there. They also built a tremendous amount of airfields and airstrips for the Air Force in case that they had to move them somewhere else. And Mongolia, just by the size of it, made sense. There's nobody there, quite frankly. It's the least populated country in the world.
And how is the transport system, I mean, to export to China, for example?
There's already railways, obviously, and these railways will need to be improved. But you know, I always believe infrastructure is a result of resources. Mm-hmm. So if you have oil in the North Sea, you build an oil platform. It's not cheap to do as well, but it makes commercial sense because you get oil out of there. It's not different in Mongolia. As these larger deposits get found, you will build the infrastructure to it, and the infrastructure is buildable. It's not that harsh of topographic to build these infrastructures that you couldn't do, and you don't have the Himalaya mountains which actually stop you doing it. So it's mostly rolling hills, so that would help.
And now, in terms of exploration, you use very forward-looking technologies, very modern technologies. So how does it work?
Well, the technology we use was originally developed by the US military, and it was developed for nuclear submarines. These submarines, in emergency situation, need to be able to sit down on the ocean floor. And they need to know what's underneath it. And out of that, this technology then got further developed, and through years, taking from submarines to airplanes. And It's very sophisticated technology. It was developed probably by the US military with unlimited resources, which probably you couldn't do in the private sector anyways. But it's very accurate. The crazy part about it, it's extremely accurate. And the reason why it's so accurate, if you take a drill bit and you go and drill into the ground, you get one data point. If you take this technology, you get hundreds of thousands of data points. And it's a little bit the same as with a digital camera. The more megapixel, the more accurate the picture is. It's exactly the same with this technology. You drill a hole, you get a little bit of sand and stone and clay out of the ground, and you analyze what's in it. That gives you a picture. This gives you a much clearer picture of what's underneath it.
And what are the results? What can you expect? I mean, how precise are they?
Extremely precise. Because again, you get hundreds of thousands of data points versus one. And you know, let's say you drill 100 holes, you have 100 data points, and then you interpret where is what. And so you kind of like, there's a lot of guessing involved. The technology, what we use, uses a lot of data mining. And so you analyze it in real time on very sophisticated computer systems, and it gives you a 3D picture of what's underneath the Earth, down to 1,000 meters at this point.
Well, that's quite extraordinary, and it must cost much less than doing it the old way.
Well, not only cost, also time. I mean, you know, time is money, and in this case, we can do with the plane in one day what a ground-based crew does in 6 months. So alone, that money, you had to quantify it. But I think you're talking about 99% reduction in cost.
Reto, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.